Hello, welcome back to Blend Sushi LiveNoding. In this episode, I will be sharing this breakdown of how to create sushi rolls using geometry nodes. So as you can see, it's a sushi roll, just really basic one. One of them is kind of, okay, like a Fishroe one, and the other one is just rice. There is nothing else. It's super basic, rice with mayonnaise, but they are all kind of wrapped in seaweed. So yeah, it seems really simple. Yeah, it is simple, but there's a couple of things that we can learn from this setup. So there are basically two kinds of sushi here, and let's check it out. First of all, you can start with, normally I look at the something, and then it's nice to see the materials being named properly. And as you can see, there's two types of sushi, and we can actually switch between the two using this switcher. Okay, now we have now all of them become Fishroe. It's not perfect. I just leave it like this and maybe let you try to improve it. But anyhow, let's take a look how we can create it. So basically, you can erase everything, right? And then the way I create it is to use Bezier curve. So I create a Bezier curve, and then I go to edit mode using tab, delete everything, go to the top view, and just draw something. And the way I make it, when we are drawing a curve, just like this, like a sushi, you can try make it. It's not always like circular. Sometimes a little bit longer, like that. But normally when you're drawing with curve, it's an open curve, and we can close it using geometry nodes anyhow. And okay, you need to be careful. Sometimes your drawing is not on the floor, and normally you want to draw the curve on the floor. And after you have these circles that you draw manually, it's imperfect, but it's perfect for our case. It's no longer like a sushi. It's a, yeah, maybe it's a sushi. If the sushi chef is a little bit crazy, and then you make something like that. But it's basically rice wrapped in a roll, and that's looking pretty crazy because of the size. Okay, this is something that I haven't thought about. I think this work better if it's a certain size. Oh yeah, sometimes I draw it like counterclockwise, but sometimes if you draw it in reverse, that's actually gonna give a different result. So it's something to consider. Okay, yeah, you get what I mean? This one is more like sushi. This one is, if the sushi chef is a little bit crazy, that's something to consider. It's like a curve comprehensions, something to consider when you, basically the sushi chef need to draw it the right way. Otherwise, the wrapper is kind of backward. Okay, so now we have some sushi, and I can duplicate this. And by switching the switch, oops, Blender crashes. No, I think it's because of the cycles, and I'm using alpha or beta version. When rendering, do not switch this. It surprises Blender. The other one is the one with purple rice, purple sushi rice. It's yeah, it's upside down. You can see. We need to reverse the curve. We need to find a way to reverse the curve so everything looks correct. For now, I just can leave it like that. But yeah, the material is provided. I probably should talk a little bit about the material. Yeah, if you bring it into the new objects, the material disappear, but you can, normally it's a good idea with your geometry nodes, you bring all the materials with the object anyway, kind of link it. So like this guy is not linked, this one has material link, So it's a good idea to select this, and then Command L, just link the material so you don't lose the material when you pass these assets around. So now let's take a look at the design itself. I usually read it from the last nodes and then go backward and look at the green parts. It seems complicated, but normally the way I make sense of it is by looking at the, yes, either switch or set material. I always put the set material near the end, but it depending on the creator of the nodes. You need to study that. Okay, we have the seaweed material and mayonnaise material. The switcher is for what's inside the sushi or the topping. So we have Fishroe or purple rice. Fishroe or purple rice. Okay, I think I will explain it from the seaweed first, the seaweed part. We can block the rest of them. Control Option, like that. Now we have just the seaweed part. So last night I wasn't actually gonna make like sushi, but I was just playing around with the idea of this curve that we can just draw like that, you know, like manually draw, and then it becomes something else. It could be a mushroom, but this is just like a seaweed. So I make it actually like turn it into sushi roll. So what's going on here? We just gonna focus on the top one. There's a lot of nodes. Now we know this is the seaweed part, so we can go back. We go to the beginning. It takes the curve. There's like a there's a cyclic here. This is actually to close and open the curve. I usually like to close the curve first and then resample it so I can control the resolutions of the curve, and then resample it again just to get a smoother shapes. Okay, this is one of the trick. Maybe you like this or maybe you don't, but it's yeah, something to consider. There's another way to do this. So resample twice and we have like a smooth shapes, like circular, and it is open because I have another spline cyclic. So you can actually have a fully closed sushi wrap, but open is better. It's even better if this one can be a little bit longer, because yes, so kind of closed but it's open like a wrap. I wish the trim can go a little bit further, but anyway, this something also to consider. I don't think we can super extend it now. Nice. And then there's a curve reversal. This is what I mentioned. You actually need, if you maybe there's a way to find the direction of the curve, and then you reverse it to make sure all is in the same directions of the curve. So this is important, something to remember. The rest of them, I just actually turn it into a mesh and extrude it using the mesh island index. Okay, this is a little bit weird, but I want to show you. You can actually use the island index, and then you set up the value and use the index. Usually index goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many strokes, depending on how many strokes. But you can use the island index to specifically target which stroke you want to perform on. So depending on where I draw it, I think I draw it, see, the smallest one is the first one that I draw, and then it's getting taller and taller. It's interesting to know. Anyway, instead of random, I use my island index. I can actually delete based on the island as well. So if you want to delete, for example, compare with an integer number. Island index goes into there, and then you can specifically delete. So that's inverting. Okay, now we can actually specifically get the right sushi by doing this. You don't need to do this. I can just turn this off. Anyway, the next one is so we extrude up. The next one is actually doing the thickness of the sushi. It's still flat, but I think, oh yeah, it has actually some thickness. You can have it, yeah, you can have it like this with the individual extrusion. I mean, the setup itself, it's not 100% perfect, but it's not too bad actually. I kind of like this wrapper. And then subdivision surface. Okay, so it's make it rounded, set smooth. Okay, I talked too much about seaweed, but seaweed part is actually the most interesting. And shader wise, also select the seaweed material. Look at the shader. Looks really complicated, but not really. Let me show you. If I just replace the principal shader with the emission, you're just gonna get the color. The color, yeah, it has kind of like seaweed random color of green. That's because of this snap and white noise texture that plug into the color ramp. So this is important, this bit over here. I can increase this number. You can see the shader, it changes. Okay, it's gonna give the stripes. This value needs to be smaller. Now we have this kind of like a wave random color along the color ramp. I also use things like mixer. So let's plug this in. You see this combinations of ramp and yeah, basically this is, I think this is for the darken the area at the bottom and at the top. Yeah, this is important, I guess. Using the texture coordinate because we don't have the UV. I haven't made UV with this curve. I use the generated anyway and the z-axis to get this color. Now we are back. It's kind of like a seaweed. Maybe the stripes is in the wrong directions. Okay, let's get back to geometry nodes. All right. Seaweed, we've done with seaweed. What's the next one? Oh, okay, the mayonnaise is just super simple. Random distributions. And then point the volume to mesh. Okay, you can have everything covered with seaweed. Yeah. Curve and geometry nodes is actually really powerful. I think so. And then you can, and then points to volume to mesh. Of course, that's, you're gonna turn this into like a random mesh. Yeah, basically. And then just give it a mayonnaise material. I did this with the takoyaki a while back ago, so not too much. Actually, I don't like seaweed with too much. I don't like the sushi with too much mayonnaise. Okay, the next one, Fishroe or purple rice. Of course, this is actually delivered from the same setup. So curve, I fill up the curve and then extrude the mesh, and by doing this, we turn the curve into something that can be extruded as a normal mesh. So we can actually, offset and scale. Okay, we can control the sushi. Okay, how long you want it, or how short? Yeah, okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, we don't need to use this mesh island to do that. I think this is, yeah, a little bit better. And then we extrude, and I think I need to have another extrusions to control the thickness. This one to control the length. So I'm missing one more nodes here to offset the curve so we can control the thickness of the rice. Anyhow, the next thing I did was to have control over the rice and the Fishroe. With the Fishroe, this is actually just points, random points, and then control the point radius. With the latest blender, we know that the points can render as sphere, so that's simple, already taken care of. This is the big Fishroe. The other one is actually using the shape of capsules. Capsule nodes is actually coming from another Blender artist that I recently mentioned. I forgot the name. Higgsas, okay. You can get these Higgsas nodes, and one of them contain capsules. It's a misspell, but I'm using that capsules for the rice. Capsule is shaped like a capsules, but normally for sushi rice it's shaped kind of more like this. You need to fix that yourself or just use like a different shapes. So anyway, we have the switcher between the two, so we can control whether it's supposed to be like Fishroe or rice. Oh yeah, this is important. Okay, the rotations part. I use random value, so it's not just rice being distributed without the, if I unplug the rotations, the rice will simply kind of standing like that. It's gonna look super weird. But sometimes it's possible to make the rice goes up like that. Sometimes maybe gravity or some kind of other things. Okay, this control the rice, of course, and then we can randomize the seed. That's easy. And then capsule is here. We can actually keep it really low res for the rice. Radius of the rice, not too small, otherwise it's gonna start to look something else. Looks like something else. And the length of the rice. Sushi rice, maybe shorter. Yeah, okay, not too bad. But Fishroe has its own material. Let me show you. Fishroe material, super basic and simple. Just enable transmission, so it's like a glass. Some roughness and metallic, maybe needed or not. With some subsurface as well, and make sure the color is like Fishroe. Can be better. The other one is the rice shader, rice material. Similar, but yeah, just use the subsurface a little bit. You can use similar shader to create onigiri. So onigiri, you will, a while back ago, there's a Blender artist that's make a really good tutorial on how to make onigiri, and he just disappeared. I think he works in a company now, or maybe he's from a company. So seaweed part, rice part, sushi, more cylindrical with rice. Okay, but that's basically what it is. It's that's how I created this geometry nodes sushi roll. It can be improved because at the moment it's super basic. The purple rice roll is interesting. I mean, with the mayonnaise it's kind of okay, but you want to have some filling here. Maybe like eggs, cucumber, California roll, whatever you want to put it here. But of course, I don't have the salmon or the tuna. That's also like a different things that you can put in it. What else? I cannot think of other things for now, but yeah, this can be improved, but you got the idea. So basically we start with a geometry, which is actually a curve geometry. You can see here, curve. Go to edit mode, you can delete everything and start drawing. We need to draw it counterclockwise to get a proper sushi. If you're crazy, you draw it different way, and it's almost like, yeah, I don't know. All of them is wrong because we need to also bring the curve down. What's probably missing here is the offset. By default, curve actually have, we can actually use depth and offset. The geometry offset doesn't work unless you use depth and offset, but that's for another story, for another time. Pretty sure you can offset a curve using geometry nodes. I just need to find out offset. What I mean by offset, if we draw like a curve like this, I want to be able to control in this direction, so it can be larger, can be smaller. Okay, so yep, that's basically how you can create sushi. You can think of many things you can put inside this seaweed wrap and just call it a sushi roll. All right, so thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.